Come with me. I'm headed down the right path. I feel so brave. My head held high and I'm showing class. Dreams ignited. Every day I truly give my best. I'm thriving excitedly to be the very best version of myself. I'm so bold and I'm so brilliant. I feel amazing. I feel so resilient. I'm so bold and I'm so brilliant. I'm so amazing. I feel so resilient.
Get to know Jen Clarke, owner of Woodhouse Spa Red Bank. She and I discuss her personal success, working with her husband on business endeavors, and her advocacy for career women wishing to transition from employment to self-employment. All right, Jen Clarke, welcome to the Chundria Show. How are you today?
Doing well. Trying to stay warm, but good.
That's right. Now, you empower women to gain greater financial freedom and a fulfilling career through entrepreneurship and self-capitalization. What motivates you to push others to success?
I would definitely say is because I see myself in a lot of these women. A little bit about my background. I worked at an investment bank for many years. I managed a team of about 13 to 15 people here in the States, Bengaluru, and in London. And I felt like I have the ability to truly identify potential in people, more so than sometimes they're able to identify in themselves. And I know there were times where I felt like, my skills were undervalued, or I felt like certain things that I wanted to do, I might not have been able to do. So what I really try to challenge women to do is to, one, identify their skills, know that their skills have value. If your employer is paying you to do something, know that whatever it is that you're doing is very valuable because you're getting paid to do it. On the flip side, there are certain women where they're their go-to for if a friend is having an event. Can you help me with this event? Can you help me pick out this outfit? Can you help me decorate my house? So they're so accustomed to giving these skills and these services for free that they themselves don't see the value in them. So what I also try to challenge women to do is deep dive, take that self-assessment, understand what your skill sets are, understand what your interests are, and know that there's a place in the market for it where you can self-capitalize on it and diversify your income and make money off of doing the things that you love and the things that you're naturally good at.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And I feel like, you're empowering women to become better versions of themselves. So that's really motivating in itself. I know it has to help you sleep at night, right?
Yeah, it is very comforting, especially when you hear these conversations from women who said, "Oh, you've inspired me." And I'm like, me? And it's such a great feeling. And I think it's just women being able to identify that their own stories, their own skill sets is valuable in and of itself,
For sure. Now, as you mentor other women that are transitioning from salaried employment to self-employment and you coach them through the process, how do you approach the spirit of fear or anxiety that may come with taking that leap?
Yeah, the fear and anxiety is very real. I would definitely say embrace it. It's not going to go away. And it really doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, how good you are at it. There's always going to be this sense of fear. My advice and what I do too, because I have that fear at times too, is just try to understand where the fear is coming from. Try to understand what the source of it is, but don't let it stop you in your track and make you immobile and not move forward. Switch your mindset and figure out a way that you can use this fear and help you propel forward. For example, I know a lot of women, as they're looking to, jump into entrepreneurship, their fear is a fear of failure. So rather than say, "Oh, I'm so afraid that I might fail and I don't want to do this," you can pivot and say, "Yes, I am afraid. I'm afraid that I could potentially fail, but I know if I do fail, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to be resilient enough to find another avenue to make this work." Start with the end in mind, know that the fear is going to be there, but know and have the mindset that you will do everything it is in your power to get you to the point that you want to be. So just don't let it stop you.
You sound like you're speaking from experience.
100%. Because like I said, that fear, it's real. And one thing for sure, you're going to get roadblocks. There's going to be things that come up that you didn't expect. The best laid out plans never really go the way you expect it to. So one thing that I've learned on this journey is you will have roadblocks. That's one thing for sure. So being able to just pivot, like, yes, have like a crying partner, a crying session, but then just get right back up and get right back on that journey and find another way.
For sure. And so, who was your partner that helped you pivot?
So my husband is my biggest partner. We own and operate all of our businesses together. So we work and, we bounce off a lot of ideas off of each other. So he's definitely one of my biggest cheerleaders, and we pivot together when we need to, so he understands the struggle. So
Come on, husband. Shout out to the husband in the room.
Right.
How has the journey to financial independence and freedom shaped you? Has it changed your life?
Yes, for sure. It changed my life and it changed my mindset. Whereas at first, and I think many people experience this, you have this mindset of lack, like maybe there's not enough space for me to be able to do this. Maybe there's not enough money for us to be able to do this. Maybe there's not enough time for us to be able to do this. And one thing that I realize is the way I think about this journey, I feel like there's always a way. Like I feel as if whatever it is that I want to do or could potentially do, if I put out a plan and I know that this is where I want to be, I will find a way to get there. So I think this journey has, with all of the roadblocks, we were able, and some of these roadblocks, like there's no way we'll be able to like resolve this. And then we found a way. So it just gave me that increased sense of confidence that whatever it is that I set my sight on, I will accomplish it, roadblocks and all.
That's a great attitude to have. And then it changes the way that you respond to adversity if and when the time comes that if I know out of the gate that I'm going to get over whatever comes my way, and I'm going to look at it differently when it does come. It might not feel good.
Yeah, it definitely does not feel good in the moment. But when you look back at all the adversity and all the roadblocks you've faced and how you've overcome them, it really starts giving you that sense of confidence. Like, yes, we can do this. Don't know what's behind these doors, but whatever it is, we're going to figure it out.
Awesome. Now tell me about your business with your husband / business partner and how meaningful the experience is to work together. I know he's helping you pivot, but how is life working alongside him?
It's interesting. I would say, so being completely honest. So one thing that we both, I think my husband would agree to, not to speak for him, but I feel like us being business partners have helped our marriage in many ways. I compare it to, when you have your boss or your management team and you're having a discussion, you might not agree with them, but you're more patient with them, right? You'll sit there, you'll listen, and you'll really try to understand what they're trying to convey, whether you agree or disagree. Whereas sometimes with your spouse, with your loved ones, your patient isn't as high, right? You're like, yeah, I don't want to hear about this. I want to do it my way. You want to do it? And, you go back and forth. But because we had to work on being able to solve so many problems, whether it be with employees, with suppliers, with strategy, with marketing, we had to communicate with each other as if we were communicating with our management team, with our employees, et cetera. And then we started seeing that these communication styles started filtering into our marriage. So if we had like a marital problem, we would use those same strategies. Okay, let me listen to you and try to understand what your problem is. And let me listen to you. And then we would attack the problem. So I feel like that has helped us significantly as in the way that we communicate with each other. But on the flip side, what I would say is the lines can become very blurred, right? So our days is spent just working on our businesses. Whereas when I was working and he was working, we would come home like, hey, dear, how was your day? How was your day? We would have that one-on-one time. But when you've been working with the person all day long, you're like, all right, can I just go to my place? But then we realized we had to be a bit more intentional in how we approach our marriage and making sure that, it's not just business 24/7. So it's just being intentional, making sure that we can say, all right, after 7, no business talk. How are you doing? Like, what's going on with you? What's going on with me? What's going on with our children? Because we have 2 children. So just so it's all about intent. You have to be intentional because it could easily just get merged and you don't know where one ended and where the next one began. And we did experience that. But then as we saw that occurring, we started being more intentional about trying to have at least some separation between the 2.
Oh, I love that. And so when it's like no business talk after 7 or no business talk on Sunday or whatever
Right.
boundaries you set for yourself, do you find that when you both agree, like we're not going to talk about business, even though I'm thinking about business,
Yeah.
does it help you to stay connected, or kind of get back
100%.
to, okay.
It does. Still a work in progress, right? Because sometimes we might say after 7, no business talking, then there's like a fire that's happening. We just have to deal with it. But again, work in progress, but we are very intentional about having that us time and that family time and making space for our marriage to flourish and grow.
I love that you can work together though. Like I know
Yeah.
it can
Awesome.
be interesting, but I just kind of love like I love the idea of like just that we're just doing all things together. Like
Yes.
you don't have your times to separate. But I really like this is really sweet. When considering early examples and inspirations in entrepreneurship, what or who inspired you to strive for greater success?
Um, the first person that comes to mind is my grandmother. I'm Haitian. I was born here, but my family's Haitian. I speak Haitian Creole. And may she rest in peace, she passed away in Haiti during the earthquake. But she comes to mind because I grew up in a single parent home with me, my grandmother, my mom, and my brother. And what my grandmother would do is she would watch all of my cousins. I have a very big family and kids in the neighborhood. So they would come over. It was always like a party at our house because we always had so much children in our house because my grandmother would watch them and, collect money for childcare. And then what I know is funny is like, let's say I asked my mom, I'd say, hey, mom, can I have $10? She's like, no, I don't have any money. But I would go to my grandmother and she always had cash and she always had money. I said, I want to be just like my grandmother and be home and still be able to make money. And my mom's out there working and I asked for $10. She didn't want to give me $10. But I always looked at my grandmother as being this savvy businesswoman who could, she didn't have much of an education, but she still used her skills to support not only herself, but our entire family. So she definitely comes to mind. And she is one of my biggest inspirations.
Oh, grandma. How do you say grandmother in what is it? Creole? Is it
Grandma.
Zamet?
Grandma.
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
sweet. Grandma was the babysitter on the block. That is
And she really
so
was.
cute. Awesome. And so among your achievements, what has made you the proudest?
Hmm. Um, so I just closed on a spa, and the story behind that is the Woodhouse Day Spa out in Red Bank, New Jersey. And the story behind that is I remember when I first moved to Jersey, I had very acne prone skin. So I did a bunch of things to try to control my adult acne, and not a lot of things worked. So I remember going to this spa and getting a facial, and I remember I could start seeing the improvements in my facial. So it was a very expensive facial. It was about, I want to say between $250 to $300. And I remember they would say, hey, would you like to book for your next appointment? And I'd be like, not now. I'll call it in. Because, I was like, I can't afford to pay $300 on a facial every month. So I would pause and I would do a facial probably once every season, summer, winter, fall, and spring. And I could see the improvements in my skin. And of course, as I grew in my career and could afford to do facials more frequently, I started doing them more frequently and started seeing the difference in my skin. And to be able to look back on this and say, well, I actually own this spa that I would go to 10 years ago, and I can get facials every day if I wanted to. I can sit back and say, well, I'm very proud of this accomplishment because it's pretty cool. So, yeah.
Hey, it's really cool. It's a really great investment, and then
Yes.
it's something that helps people, to relax, take that time away. And that's my next question: is self-care part of your daily routine? It sounds like it is. What do you do for fun or to relax?
So I do. I do think self-care is extremely important, especially for women, especially for Black women. It could be very difficult to just take the step back sometimes and just focus on you, focus on your own well-being. And for me, self-care doesn't always mean going to the spa and getting a spa day or getting massages. It could mean being at peace with yourself, being at peace with your loved ones. For example, personally speaking, if I'm having an altercation with a family member or a friend, I'm very intent on making sure that we have that communication, we have that conversation, and we resolve it. Because having a peaceful life, a peaceful spirit is also part of self-care. So making sure that the relationships in your lives are serving you and you're serving them. And then also taking that time out for you to know what is it that I enjoy doing, and doing whatever that is part of that self-care too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I think self-care is so different for everyone. And it's like a matter of like what that means to you, what relaxing looks like to you, what unwinding and unplugging looks like for you. So yeah, for sure. Who is the funniest person you know and why?
Oh, funniest person. So I have a big family, and I have about 7 cousins that are like around my age. We're all just around, we all have like young children, etc. But one of them, my cousin Nellie, I would say she's the funniest of person I know. And I always tell her, I say, if we're ever at a funeral, I don't want to sit next to you, because she finds laughter and joy in everything. Like you could be at the point of tears if you just call her up and have a 2-minute conversation with her, she'll have you cracking up. So I think it's very important to have those people in your life that, when days are down, you can call them, or whether it even be someone that you watch on YouTube, or someone that can just, lighten up your spirit and put a smile on your face. But for me, it's her amongst, my other cousins. So they're hilarious. They're
I love that you have a big family. I thank you for sharing a piece of yourself today and for being my special guest on the Chundria show. If anyone is interested in working with you or following your journey, what's the best way to connect?
They can find me on many platforms at she'sjenclarke.com. My YouTube channel's there, IG, on Facebook, same she'sjenclarke.com. And they can look me up on LinkedIn at she'sjenclarke.com as well. Sorry, I don't know if you're still able to see me.
I can see you.
Oh, okay. They can find me on LinkedIn as well. So anywhere they look up she'sjenclarke.com, they'll find me. And my email is she'sjenclarke@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. I can't wait to share the interview with you, and you have a wonderful weekend.
You do the same. Thank you so much, Chundria.
Bye.
Bye. I wanted to, I can sit back and say, well, I'm very proud of this accomplishment because it's pretty cool. So yeah.
Hey, it's really cool. It's a really great investment, and it's
Yes.
it's something that helps people, to relax, take that time away. And that's my next question: is self-care part of your daily routine? It sounds like it is. What do you do for fun or to relax?
So I do think self-care is extremely important, especially for women, especially for Black women. Um, it could be very difficult to just take the step back sometimes and just focus on you, focus on your own well-being. And for me, self-care doesn't always mean going to the spa and getting like a spa day or getting massages. It could mean being at peace with yourself, being at peace with your loved ones. For example, personally speaking, if I'm having like an altercation with like a family member or a friend, I'm very intent on making sure that we have that communication, we have that conversation, and we resolve it. Because having like a peaceful life, a peaceful spirit is also part of self-care. So making sure that the relationships in your lives are serving you and you're serving them. And then also taking that time out for you to know what is it that I enjoy doing, and doing whatever that is part of that self-care too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I think self-care is so different for everyone. And it's like a matter of like what that means to you, what relaxing looks like to you, what unwinding and unplugging looks like for you. So yeah, for sure. Who is the funniest person you know and why?
Oh, funniest person. So I have a big family, and I have about 7 cousins that are like around my age. We're all just around, we all have like young children, etc. But one of them, my cousin Nellie, I would say she's the funniest of person I know. And I always tell her, I say, if we're ever at a funeral, I don't want to sit next to you, because she finds laughter and joy in everything. Like you could be at the point of tears if you just call her up and have a 2-minute conversation with her, she'll have you cracking up. So I think it's very important to have those people in your life that, when days are down, you can call them, or whether it even be someone that you watch on YouTube, or someone that can just, lighten up your spirit and put a smile on your face. But for me, it's her amongst, my other cousins. So they're hilarious. They're
I love that you have a big family. I thank you for sharing a piece of yourself today and for being my special guest on the Chundria Show. If anyone is interested in working with you or following your journey, what's the best way to connect?
They can find me on many platforms at she'sjenclarke.com. My YouTube channel's there, IG, on Facebook, same she'sjenclarke.com. And they can look me up on LinkedIn at she'sjenclarke.com as well. They can find me on LinkedIn as well. So anywhere they look up she'sjenclarke.com, they'll find me. And my email is she'sjenclarke@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. I can't wait to share the interview with you.
Thank you so much, Chundria.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope that you enjoyed that amazing interview with Jen Clarke. And now I'll answer some specially crafted and curated questions. Oh, best ice cream of all time for me would be chocolate chip cookie dough. And then a close second would be Oreo cookie. Those are my two favorite ice cream flavors. If I'm having like a shake, I think I prefer Oreo cookie. But if I'm just having just a scoop of ice cream, always chocolate chip cookie dough. As a child, I really wanted to be a meteorologist. That was a dream of mine probably since like age 10, 11, 12-ish, early teen years. But yeah, I was pretty set on becoming a meteorologist. And then I actually got an opportunity to visit a news station. And when I did, I just quickly fell in love with how production ran, you know, seeing the meteorologist in front of the green screen. I loved seeing like the editors and the camera crew and just all these moving parts for this production. And you know, when you're at home, you're watching the news and you just see it all put together. And so that's really kind of what prompted like my love for media and being a creative. I actually bowled as a child. I bowled in a league for about a decade, probably age 7 to 17. I was in a junior bowling league. Shout out to my mom. My mom's always been a very avid bowler my entire childhood. She was always in adult leagues. She's still in senior leagues even to today. And so as a child, I would participate in senior leagues. Mom and I would travel to different states for tournaments. And so that was a big part of my childhood, is spending Saturdays in a league. League bowling and then the tournaments, winning the trophies, the friends that I met and things like that. And some people I still keep up with today. A celebrity I would love to work with or be friends with. I would love to work with or be friends with Ava DuVernay. She seems like such a chill, down-to-earth creative. She seems to be about her business. I love that she went into film as a second career, you know, after working in public relations. And so, you know, I just love her ability to pivot, but I just think she would just have such a wealth of knowledge. So many cool stories just from, you know, one area of the industry to the next. And she just seems like a really, like that big sister that you could get, your big sister in the industry. So I think I would love to work with her and also hang with her too. Big Sister Ava. Thanks for tuning in to the Chundria Show. And just before we go, check out this snippet from a recent podcast interview with Jasmine Young, certified accountant and founder of Southern. Get to know Jasmine Young. As the founder of Southern Heritage Financial Group, based in Atlanta, Georgia, she builds wealth management strategies for small business owners, sole proprietors, and seven-figure companies. Jasmine and I discuss her brand, My CPA is Black, the gender wage gap, the secret to financial success, its impact on mental health, and much more. Learn about Jasmine online at shfgglobal.com. Jasmine Young, welcome back to the Chundria Show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me back.
Of course. 2 years. Time flies, right?
It does.
And you are still thriving as an entrepreneur. You're still helping others thrive in their own way financially. So let's dive on in and chat today. Tell me about the inspiration for creating your brand, My CPA is Black.
So the inspiration behind that was actually to highlight the fact that, number one, Black CPAs do exist. And two, to highlight the fact that there are less than 6,000 Black CPAs in the world, where there's over 650,000 CPAs. So we are a very small part of the industry. But I wanted to highlight that even though we're small in number, we're mighty in force. So the reason behind my CPA is Black is to let people know that, hey, Black CPAs do exist and we are here to serve.
Love that. Love that so much. So let's dive into money matters. What is the relationship between money matters and mental health, in your opinion?
In my opinion, mental health really plays a part in how and why people spend money. A lot of people think that, if I had more money, it would solve all of my issues. But the way you spend money is actually tied to your psyche. What is your reasoning behind why you're spending money? Are you spending it because you're trying to compete with someone, or you're trying to overcompensate for things? What is the reasoning behind that? So really addressing your mindset when it comes to money is really going to determine how successful you are with money. So the two are actually interconnected. I always tell people when it comes to financial literacy, it's only 50% money, but the rest is application, your mindset, and what do you think about money and why you spend money the way that you spend it.
Sure. It's interesting though to have those two tied, right?
Right.
And then a lot of what we learn about money, we learn as children, as teens,
Right.
your first job, how our parents spend money, impacts how we spend money, or
Right.
maybe the lack thereof, or however, our
Right.
upbringing is, those early beginnings. So it's kind of interesting that you're saying like money matters and mental health are so closely aligned, but
They
like how
are.
it could continue on through generations. Like if your great grandmother and your grandmother and
Yeah.
your mom and your dad, and then now.
And that's exactly what happens. Psychological behaviors is what drives us to do most things. So same thing with money. It is the reason why you spend money the way that you spend it. Whether you're tight on money because you didn't have a lot growing up, or you spend a lot because you didn't have it growing up. Either way, it's tied to some psychological factor.
And we don't know how it's going to impact us. We don't know if it's going to make you spend more or spend less, or kind of hoard it, or be a really great saver because of that.
Right.
You don't know how it's going to impact you. And so I guess for you would say like identifying those
Yes.
trends and those patterns would be like the first step in kind of breaking that curse.
Absolutely. Because after you identify it, then comes the application, which is what I mentioned earlier. So you really got to hone in on what drives you to spend money the way that you spend it. What is your relationship with money? How does money make you feel? What does money mean to you? Once you get those things figured out, then it helps you change your mindset of how you're actually spending the money. So you definitely want to do an analysis on what is your relationship with money from the start. What do you think about it? What were you taught about it? What did you learn on your own? Those are things that you need to consider when you are talking about money and building generational wealth and becoming financially literate.
Come with me, I'm headed down the right path. I feel so brave, my head held high and I'm showing class. Dreams ignited, every day I truly give my best. I'm thriving excitedly to be the very best version of myself. I'm so bold and I'm so brave.